Let's welcome the TV voice of the Philadelphia Phillies, T-Mac, Tom McCarthy. Welcome back.
Bill, thanks, man. Chet, nice to see you. Bill, if I knew you were down in Florida, I would have just gone to your house and done the show. I mean,
you could have. I'm in Lakeland.
Traffic down here is unbelievable.
Yes, it is.
You were in Fort Myers today. You are a busy guy, Tom, going all over the place. You're doing all these interviews with people like us, making us happy. So let's get to it. We have lots of questions. Let's see how many we can get to. First thing first, Andrew Painter on the hill for the Phillies today. 2 innings, 29 pitches. A lot of optimism about this kid who's not yet 20. That'll be about 6 weeks from now. How's he looking?
I actually thought he looked pretty good. I mean, you know, if you put aside the fact that he's 19 years old, he just looked like a guy making his first appearance in spring training. 29 pitches, mostly fastballs. The one part about it, which I'm sure that he talked about after the game, he was missing a little low in the strike zone and a couple pitches up, but not too bad. I actually thought Manny Gonzalez, the home plate umpire, there were a couple pitches that probably could have gone his way. I don't think he'll ever tell you that. But I thought he looked really good. He didn't walk anybody. But I think it was 19 strikes, 10 balls. He probably thought maybe he should have had more strikes. But listen, 19. I mean, he topped off at 99, had a few pitches that were 98. I thought he looked pretty good. It was a good lineup, too. It wasn't like it was just the Twins AAA lineup. I mean, he had Correa in the lineup. He had Kepler. So I thought he looked pretty good.
Good. Hey, Tom, assuming we're going to go Nola Wheeler Nola, doesn't matter 1 and 1A, Suarez, Walker, Painter, if it works out that way, what kind of load do you see Andrew Painter getting? You think they'll limit his innings throughout the season?
I do, Bill. I mean, I think that's just around baseball. I don't even think that's a Phillies thing. I just think that's a baseball thing for a kid that age. And, you know, Rob Thompson has discussed the possibility of going with a 6-man rotation periodically, not every time through the rotation. So I think that's what he's talking about is guys like Painter and even Suarez to a certain extent. I know they're really still, you know, touch and feel with him as far as his innings go. But I think that they saw last year in the postseason how much of a burden it does put on the pitchers when they do get to the postseason. So I think 19 years old wouldn't shock me if he's in the rotation, but it also wouldn't shock me is that every 3 turns you see Bailey Falter or somebody like that in the rotation.
Well, while we're talking about pitching, let's talk about the bullpen. Sir Anthony is back, and they've extended him, and a few new guys in the mix as well, Strom and, so it's going to be very exciting, I think, to watch these guys and see how they do. Craig Kimbrell, is it going to be bullpen by committee? Who's going to get most of the save opportunities?
You know, Chad, I think it's going to be bullpen by committee only because Rob liked that last year. I think he's going to settle on Kimbrell for, you know, most of that time. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Kimbrell-Sir Anthony mix at the beginning. But then if he sees that there's a tough stretch of left-handers in a particular lineup, then Soto and Alvarado get a look at it. I think Strom's still going to be kind of a 7th, 8th inning guy. He pitched today. I thought he looked okay. He gave up a home run. I mean, it was a really long home run. Actually went into somebody's backyard in Fort Myers. But I do think that he liked the committee sort of closer last year. But we'll see. I think that's the way it's going to start.
Well, you've been around baseball for a long time, Tom, and you're around these players. Do the players like that, not having a defined role, that they could go every night? Baseball players are, they're creatures of habit.
Yeah. No, I don't think they like it, but I think they're okay with it. I think they're accepting of it. Rob has a way of getting his point across that's not overbearing or sort of directive. He'll basically talk to a player about it and then say, you know, I'm kind of thinking about this role. And they like him. They trust him. And I think that's the biggest thing. If they trust you, then I do believe that they're going to lean on what he says.
Well, another guy that we all like is the new shortstop, Trey Turner. Looks like he's going to be the leadoff man, at least as far as we know, and as far as he's doing well, he'll be the leadoff guy. What impressions are you getting from him now that he is a Philly, Tom?
Well, I got to tell you, what I like the most is that he's really pairing up with Bryson Stott because he's leaving for the World Baseball Classic. So he wants to make sure that his double play combination, that his double play relationship is really good. So everywhere he goes, Stott seems to be right next to him. I think he has settled in nicely with this team. I think he has understood what his role is and what his responsibility is. I think he's really confident in everything he does. The oven mitts on his hands are kind of weird, which he's even admitted when he's on the base paths. But I actually think, Ben and I alluded to this the other day. I think he's going to get upwards to 60 to 70 stolen bases this year. And I think that's going to be huge for the success of the Phillies.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I wanted to ask you about Alec Bohm. He's 26 years old now. He had a pretty nice season last year, 1372, hit 280. Kind of ran out of gas at the end of the season, though, I thought, as he was hitting up around 300 for a good part of that. Started to tail off at the end. Is this the year? Is this the time this kid breaks out and is all we think he could be?
Yeah, Bill, I think so. There's a helicopter going up above me right now. Looks like it's a Coast Guard helicopter.
Hey, as long as it's not pigeons, you're all right.
That is very true. That is really true. No, I think he's going to be great. I actually thought body language wise, confidence wise, he looks awesome. I told him that yesterday on the air when we were talking to him. I think this is a big year for him. He's totally different confidence-wise than he was in spring training last year. I mean, remember, guys, there was a thought he wouldn't even make the team out of spring training last year.
Right. Yeah.
And I think this clubhouse, it's hard to overstate environment, but I do think this clubhouse has come along at the right time for Alec Bohm because they kind of take a lot of the pressure away from him, but they also keep things really loose. And he's kind of slid into that, the sort of daycare thought, which I think is really cool. The fact that Stott's here and was here last year, Maton last year helped him. So did Matt Vierling. And I think that really helped him sort of settle in last season.
T-Mac, what is the latest on Bryce Harper? When might we see him actually, playing games, at least as a DH? And will he be in the outfield at all this season?
Yes, I do think he'll be in the outfield, Chet, at certain points. They say he's ahead of schedule. I haven't spoken with him since probably around the Super Bowl. So the fact that they say he's ahead of schedule, I do think he heals quickly. I would say sometime in June to be in the lineup, and then maybe after the All-Star break to be in the outfield, maybe a little later. But I think sometime in June, I remember reading a story that Dave Dombrowski alluded to the end of June, but then the other day said he's kind of ahead of schedule. So it wouldn't shock me if he's in the lineup June 15th as the DH. It really wouldn't. I mean, the dude he grinds, man. He gets himself ready to go. And, so it wouldn't shock me if that's when he's in the lineup.
Another guy I wanted to ask you about, Nick Castellanos, struggled a bit last year. Not
sure did, yeah.
When you look at the numbers, maybe not awful numbers, but not Nick Castellanos numbers. But you expect him to turn it around and be as good as he was before he got here last year.
Bill, I think that's a good way of putting it. It's just not Nick Castellanos numbers. He played every day. Like he got hurt in August or September, around that time with that oblique. But beyond that, played every day. And played the outfield when I don't think he was expected to play it all the time. So I do think he's going to be better. And the only reason I say that is David Chad, who's one of Dave Dombrowski's special assistants, is the scout that signed him for the Tigers. So he's with us now, and he's watching him every day in spring training. And he likes what he sees compared to when he was with the Tigers. He didn't like what he saw last year, where he would kind of lean a lot of times. Yeah. I think Nick will be even more comfortable in Philadelphia, not worried about the contract because there's so many guys around him that can help carry the load. He doesn't have to be the guy. So I expect him to be better this year. And I think his Sunday home run, I do think that was a really good indication of what he's fixed in his swing, because that's where his power comes from, the power to right center field. And it's hard sometimes in spring training to gauge whether something's a really good home run or just a fly ball. That was a pretty good shot the other day. So that made me feel good. And, he's been good to be around. I mean, he works. He just works his tail off.
All right. Now we got some rule changes this year, Tom, as you're well aware. We know how Zach Wheeler feels about the pitch clock, yeah. But I love it, man. If they're speeding up the game 25 minutes, it's great. What do you think of the pitch clock?
I love it too. I mean, I feel bad that I think I exude the love of it very often, whether I'm on TV or radio or doing interviews. Obviously, I'm not taking the player role in this because I'm watching from a distance. I'm not watching like they are. But today I saw the first violation that I had seen, which I thought I'd see a lot more. I think it's the average violations per game are the same as they were in the minor leagues the first week of spring games, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So they're kind of gauging it. But the average game time is 2 hours and 31 minutes, which is exactly the neighborhood that Major League Baseball would like it to be. So I love it. I haven't really seen the effect of the shift, with the exception of a few different plays like today. In today's game, I thought there were 3 balls that were hit where the shortstop would have been against a left-handed batter that were hits today. And that is exactly what Major League Baseball wants. So I like them. I don't totally get the bases being larger. I still, they keep thinking it's going to be more stolen bases. Maybe they're right about that. They've done all the research. I haven't. But I just don't think the game is made for stolen bases anymore. But if they're going to try to force the issue, then I do think we're going to see somebody steal 80 bases, if that's the case. Because somebody's going to say, oh, yeah, I can do it easier now. I'm going to try to steal 80 bases.
Yeah. What's it like calling that game with a pitch clock, Tom? You got to change it around pretty quick.
You do. I mean, the drop-ins, you got to make them faster. And the replays, we're trying to do a replay of a Jake Cave throw at second base. And there's like 2 pitches being thrown while we're doing it. Like you do half of it, and then a pitch is thrown. Then you do the other half of it, and another pitch is thrown. So that's okay, though. We can figure that part out.
Hey, Tom, I'm going to put up a picture of these 2 guys right here. Looks like you and some little 3-year-old kid. Now, one of these guys just got a nice contract extension. Congratulations, T-Mac. And the other guy, and here's a more recent picture of the 2 of you. The other guy is now working for the New York Mets. Congratulations to both of you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We can't replicate that picture. Although we do, if we do, there's got to be a chair behind me that nobody can see, because I'm not going to be able to do that. Plus, my hair was going at that point, and it's gone now. His is still really good. So I just talked to him actually on the drive up. He yesterday was his first day in camp, so he's gotten to meet a lot of people for the first time. I told him, I said, they're going to remember who you are, because he's 6'6", like he's a former college pitcher. So, he walks into a room. Well, first of all, he's loud because he's my son. But second of all, he's a big dude. So I'm really proud of him. I mean, it's going to be a great experience. He's in a great booth with Howie Rose and Chris Majkowski and Keith Rad. So this is a really good spot for him.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Tom,
yeah.
before we end up running out of time, I wanted to ask you about how do you feel about a repeat performance from the Phillies and get to the World Series? The odds makers don't seem to be in love with the Phillies.
Very
at this
strange.
Point.
Yeah, really strange. I you know what? It's hard for me to go against what Vegas says, because you guys know as well as I do, they are eerily correct on a lot of things a lot of times. I do see them getting back there again. I mean, if they win the division, great. I think the Braves are still the better team in the division compared to the others. But I can't see us not getting to the postseason. As you guys know, there's a lot of luck involved when you get there, like they had last year that the Padres beat the Dodgers and knocked them out. But I think that they're primed to do it. And the other part of it, too, we've kind of seen that John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski, if there's a piece that needs to be slid into a puzzle that's not there yet, they're going to go get it. And that's pretty cool to think about that if you're in Philadelphia.
Tom, I did see on Twitter the other day you interacted with someone who said 90 wins, over, under, and you said over. Are you sticking with that?
Yeah, I think over. I am. I'm just surprised that it's so low, because we're better than last year. And
right.
Some places have us winning less games than last year, or maybe 2 or 3 more. I just think that they're going to win more. I think this is going to be a really good year. I'd be shocked if it's not. So I don't know. I can't say that I'm usually right about that. Sometimes people accuse me of having rose-colored glasses, and I would admit that, being the voice of a team. But watching these guys, I haven't seen atmosphere like this in a long time. So I'm sticking with that. I think over 90 is a pretty easy bet, quite frankly. Is there anything behind me that we can call and get an extra sponsor for you guys? The Walk and Roll or Sage's Bistro or anything like that?
Do.
I like the way you're thinking.
Preferably a beer sponsor, Tom. I'll take a beer sponsor anytime.
Don't I know it? Ain't that the truth? I would do the same thing.
Well, Tom, thanks a
All
lot.
right, guys,
thanks for
be
taking
good.
the time to join us. Appreciate it, and go Phils.
We'll see
Yeah,
you, Tom.
you got it, guys. Yep.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.